Hey everyone, you can now join our channel and get awesome perks, like these custom emojis from some of our most iconic characters, as well as sweet loyalty badges. There are 3 tiers, so please check them out. We appreciate all the love and support. How the jealous Dragonborn ruined a friendship. Tom and Dragul were the best of friends. Dragul, the Dragonborn cleric of Lyra, was the strong one, while Tom the human bard was the weird one. Even so, these two were inseparable. So, when the call came for adventurers to travel to distant lands to defeat a great death curse plaguing the land, they answered the call together. They traveled to the land of Chult and began their great adventure. Along their travels, they met a halfling by the name of Snarl. It is worth mentioning that Snarl was raised by wolves in the wild, so his views on the world around him were simplistic to say the least. In his mind, you were either predator or prey. You either ate or were eaten. So, when during the course of the trio's first big fight together, Dragul, whilst being chewed on by a T-Rex, was unable to get any of his spells to successfully land. Tom managed to deal a devastating amount of damage to the creature, while it was distracted with Dragul in its mouth. But it is worth noting that Dragul actually landed the killing blow on this monstrosity, and not Tom. This is important. Snarl walked up to Tom, pointed at him in full view of Dragul, and said, "Strongest!" This was when things began to go downhill between Tom and Dragul. For the next few weeks and months, Snarl would stick to his view that Tom was stronger than Dragul, and Tom would playfully go along with it. Over time, this started wearing on Dragul. It made him frustrated and jealous, emotions that only got worse over time. They still fought side by side through many fights, but a specific pair of fights went on to change the course of these two characters' history forever. However, before we get to that, there is something we must discuss. At one point during all this, Dragul met a beautiful elven woman. Her request? When they located the Soulmonger, the source of the death curse, she wanted him to let her study it for a while. He flat out refused. Angry at his indignation, the woman revealed her true self as the Great Lich Valindra. She attempted to use this revelation to intimidate him into bending her will, as she was not going to be turned down so quickly and so easily by a mere Dragonborn. Dragul, however, was not going to be swayed. Valindra was not pleased, and after he left, she sent spies to follow the party and find a way to break the spirits of this Dragonborn. During the course of a fight after this, Dragul became surrounded by enemies. Tom, doing his best to think quickly and save his friend, cast Shatter, centered on Dragul. While Tom's assumption that Dragul would physically survive the act was correct, it was Dragul's emotional state that took the biggest hit here. His best friend had just intentionally dropped a spell on his head. Part of him understood why Tom made the choice he did, but he still felt betrayed. Shortly after this, Valindra, having learned a lot about the social dynamics of the party, sent a red mage after the party with the instructions to kill his friend. During the fight, Tom was knocked out and was bleeding fast. Dragul, still holding his grudge against Tom, cast Spare the Dying instead of Cure Wounds. As he passed, he stated, "Next time watch where you cast your spells," and rushed to join the fight. The mage, seeing the opportunity, Misty stepped past the party to end up next to the unconscious Tom. With one swift movement, he stabbed Tom through the chest. Immediately after Tom bled out and died, his soul was sucked into the Soulmonger. While the rest of the party did mourn the death of Tom, no one knew just how badly this was going to hurt Dragul. In the months following, the guilt of being directly responsible for the death of his best friend tore away at him internally. As his mental state slowly spiraled into depression, his use to the party slowly declined as well. His typical spell rotation shifted from healing the party to throwing damage as much as he could. Months after this, when deep in the bowels of the Tomb of Annihilation, things came to a head. One of the newer members to the party, Lex, a warforged wizard with a penchant for making the smart move, but not the wisest move, made a drastic mistake. You see, prior to the events above, some hags had acquired the blood of a few members of the party. The affected members were Tom, Dragul, Snarl, and Bamoli, a dwarven fighter, who has gone through some serious stuff at this point as well. But that is another story altogether. As they turned to descend a stairwell, Dragul came face to face with Tom, albeit a smaller, weaker, pitiful version of him, created from the blood of Tom. Dragul, not yet processing what was happening, attempted to heal Tom, to no effect. The rest of the party had not yet realized what was happening, as they could see Dragul, but didn't see Not Tom. Not Tom only had memories up until his death, and he had since been stuck in this dungeon with Not Dragul, who told him essentially everything Dragul knew and thought. Not Tom knew Dragul let him die over something so seemingly petty, and the words out of Not Tom's mouth cut deeper than any knife could. "You let me die." Dragul, frozen in shock and fear, had no response to Not Tom's next actions. Not Tom began stabbing at him with a small dagger. Lex, who had just come around the corner, saw Not Tom's actions and made the logical next step. He stabbed and killed Not Tom. This sent Dragul into an intense rage. See, in his mind, Tom was back somehow, and now Lex, who he already didn't like at all, killed his best friend. So Dragul went charging after Lex, while the Centaur Paladin Sedita tried fruitlessly to hold him back. Lex cast invisibility on himself to hide from the rage-fueled Dragonborn, while the rest of the party got pulled into combat with a crowd of Modrons. After a few seconds and watching his good friend Anders get pincushioned by arrows, Dragul snapped out of it and assisted the party. Sedita, who had continued to defend Lex due to their history together, went up to Dragul afterwards and asked him if he was good now, heavily indicating the sudden feud between him and Lex, who was still not visible to the party. Dragul turned to the Centaur and stated very bluntly,
"If I see that wizard again, I will kill him."
Sedita was very hesitant about trusting the Dragonborn at this point, due to the words he overheard from Not Tom on the staircase, and his intent to kill someone who Sedita found an extremely important asset to the group. So, when they continued down the steps, Sedita made a point to let Dragul go first, to keep an eye on him. On the floor below, the entire room was shrouded in a green mist. Dragul went first to investigate and vanished into the mist. He walked into a cage, hidden from the party, and met Not Dragul. Where Not Tom was a lesser version of himself, Not Dragul seemed stronger, as if he was just as healthy as Dragul himself. Not Dragul began tearing into Dragul about how he was not worthy of his own powers, how he was pathetic for living as he had after Tom's death. Dragul dropped his weapon, one bestowed upon him by his goddess herself, unable to fully contain the mixture of emotions swirling inside him. Not Dragul picked up his sword and activated it, something Dragul was unable to do since the floor above. Not Dragul spoke of all Dragul's failings to live in the memory of Tom. Reaching forward, Not Dragul attempted to cast a spell on Dragul, who was unwilling to allow this.
"Even now, you refuse to see the truth,"
Not Dragul said disappointedly. Dragul pathetically swung with his bare fist, unable to make any kind of solid contact on the visage before him. Not Dragul began to shine, a set of golden armor, gleaming with every color imaginable, and some unknown, solidifying in Dragul's mind that this Not Dragul was more worthy to Lyra than he was. Dragul's mind began to break. Not Dragul summoned a guardian of faith in the figure of Tom. Dragul was unable to successfully defend himself at this point, and slowly his health dwindled. All the while, Not Dragul's words stung more than the guardian ever could. He slumped down onto his knees, his entire existence slowly coming apart in his own mind. Grief and guilt, self-hatred and loathing, all crammed into his mind. All this was wearing away at his mind and heart. Not Dragul stabbed the sword into the ground next to Dragul and stepped back. Dragul's last remaining health drained away as the spectral Tom looked on. In his coma, Lyra came to visit. She admonished Dragul heavily. He had strayed from the path, let himself become absorbed so much in how he failed his friend, that he was no longer living for him, but almost living despite him. Tom was a bard, and Lyra took great joy in his song, and the joy he brought the world.
"Tom's song didn't die with him,"
Lyra began to raise her voice.
"It lives on in you. But when you live in anger and hatred, you are silencing a beautiful song."
So Lyra gave him a choice. Will he right his wrongs and live honorably for Tom's sake? Dragul accepted. What choices did he really have? Dragul awoke, still on the cold stone floor where he had collapsed. Not Dragul was still there and reached his hand out to help him up. As he stood, the gleaming armor started to fade from Not Dragul. As it did so, it formed around Dragul instead. Not Dragul slowly withered away, and Dragul felt strong, the healthiest he had in a long time. In the following hours, Dragul took his newfound strength and determination, and led his party into the chambers of the Lich of Sararak, where he was instrumental in killing him. Dragul could feel Tom's song with every beat of his heart, and he vowed that as long as he lived, so would Tom's memory and song. Redemption for Dragul. Becoming aware of your own failings is one of the most difficult things to do. Please let us know what you think and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel All Things D&D. Our next video will be posted in 2 days, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.